In today's video, I have to survive 100 days in the Pacific Ocean. I have 3 objectives. First, create my very own giant submarine. Second, find and defeat Gigas, the giant crab. And third, eliminate the king of the Eastern Pacific, the Leviathan. It's time to cross the Pacific Ocean. All right, let's do this. Looks like there's a storm ahead. Let's be careful. Wait, my boat is sinking. That's a tornado. Ah! Painful? Oh no! Oh man, wait, where the heck am I? That tornado must have sent me flying. Painful? Hello? I don't see him anywhere. And so I began my adventure on the Pacific Ocean on day 1. And I saw a pop-up that said starter age. I wasn't sure what it meant, but then I saw a piece of stone floating by. I also had started with a fishing rod, so that helped me to get the stone. But I also noticed there was a strong current. When I looked to my left, I saw even more items floating by. So I used my fishing rod to get them all. Found some grass, coal, and a spare fishing rod, and a carrot underneath my raft, which I then realized was made of wood. And while mining wood, I checked again, and only 15% of you guys are actually subscribed. So if you end up enjoying this video, subscribing is greatly appreciated. So using the planks I had just gotten, I expanded my raft, as I wanted to use my raft to stop some of the items from floating by. I then fished out a sapling, sugarcane, some bones, and dirt. I ended up finding a sheep that was floating by, as well as a cow, so I used my fishing rod to pull them in towards my raft. This cow had some trouble getting up, so I had to make a staircase for him. And then, using the fishing rods I had found, I pulled in the rest of the animals. I then put all the stuff away that I had found that day. I got a nice long rest. And from days 2 to 3, I started to expand my raft. If you guys enjoy these time lapses, make sure to hit that like button. It helps my channel tremendously, is completely free, and is very appreciated. I ended up making animal pens, a tree farm, and a little wheat and carrot farm. And for the rest of day 3, I kept on fishing, mined some wood, mined some coal I found, tended to the crops, and bred the animals. On day 4, I turned some of the bones I got into bone meal, and used it on some saplings so I could chop a ton of trees. I then harvested my carrots and my wheat, picked up some items that got caught on my raft, fished out some more items as well, mined some coal, bred all my animals, expanded my farms a little bit, and made myself a sugarcane farm. On day 5, I decided it was time to go exploring. So I made a boat and started to boat around. Soon after, I found some sort of underwater cave. So I dived down and used oak doors so I could breathe underwater. I then mined some coal and some iron that I found, swam through the underwater cave and found an air pocket. When I emerged from the water, there were crabs inside this cave, and they started to immediately attack me. They did a lot of damage too, so I dived under the water and took them all out. Afterwards, I mined the rest of the coal and iron in this cave, and then swam up back to the surface. So I continued boating through the rain and ended up finding a shipwreck. I dived down into the shipwreck and found a chest, which had a diving helmet with respiration 3 and some carrots. I continued the journey on my boat and ended up finding another shipwreck. So I dived down and found another chest, but this time it had a treasure map, and it seemed to be pointing to an island with an X on it. So I began my journey hunting for this island, as it couldn't be too far. So I kept on boating for another couple of days, but then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, what is that? Okay, somehow it didn't see me, but I gotta keep trying to find this island. Wow. So after that encounter, I kept on following the treasure map, and on day 12, I finally arrived at an island. So I landed at the shore and kept on following the map. I also found a hermit crab on the beach, which ended up running away from me. It was a shame. I would have loved to keep that guy as a pet. I then finally saw myself on the map and found where the X was. So I started digging as much as I could to see if this treasure may have been buried. After a while of digging through a ton of sand, I finally found a chest. Inside the chest was a book and quill, and it read, "Look under the sword to find your reward." What does that mean? I started looking around the rest of the island and found some animals along the way. And at the center of the island, I ended up finding a statue. It was a statue of a knight holding a sword. I was kind of confused at first, but after doing a lap around it, I ended up finding a lever underneath the sword. The lever ended up opening a secret passageway, so I climbed down the ladder, and it ended up being some sort of lava parkour. You know, I had cobblestone, so I probably could have just pillared across with that, but I was up for the challenge. So after a few leaps of faith, and after accidentally scorching myself, I made it to the end. I opened the chest, and there were golden apples, gold, and some iron nuggets. So I pillared back over, fought a skeleton on the top that almost killed me, ran over to the shore, and I decided while I was here I'd chop down a bunch of wood. I then made myself some iron tools, and found a little cave to explore. I then mined myself some coal, found and mined a bunch of iron, and even managed to find some emeralds and lapis. I then made myself some iron armor and returned to the surface. On day 15, I was about to leave the island, and ended up getting swarmed by a ton of blue crabs on the beach. I tried taking them out, but there were so many and they dealt a ton of damage. I tried blocking more of their hits with my shield, but I had to run away because I was extremely low. So I decided to escape with my boat and left this mysterious island. On day 17, I finally made it back to my raft, which luckily was still intact. I then harvested my wheat farms and my carrot farms, replanted them all, harvested and replanted my tree farms as well, and harvested my sugarcane. I then got a nice long rest and woke up to a message saying, "Welcome to the Iron Age." I wasn't sure what to expect, but I sheared my sheep, saw a dolphin, and then looked and saw there was a lot of different items floating around. There was cobble, wood, and even some gold. So I continued fishing for the rest of the day and got attacked by sharks. Now that there was blood in the water, even more sharks started to swarm around me. And before I knew it, I was surrounded. So I went back onto my raft for safety and tried to take out at least one of the sharks. They were really fast though, and because they were attacking in packs, I had to get back on my raft to stay safe. So I decided not to go back into the water again and just continue fishing from my raft. And I also found some redstone ore floating by. And from days 19 to 20, I started collecting wood, shearing my sheep as much as I could for my stage 1 ship. I then crafted my giant crafting table, used the wool to make ship sails, and then made reinforced logs with the wood. And then in the giant crafting table, I crafted my stage 1 sailboat. I then built out a little platform for my raft, and then I placed down my stage 1 sailboat, backed away, and watched as it built itself. This sailboat was a pretty good size, so I built a ladder up to it and went to take a look at what was inside. The sailboat was complete with a full kitchen area and even a bedroom in the back. There were plenty of extra rooms too. So I started by furnishing the interior. The next day I moved all my stuff to the boat. On day 23 I harvested my sugarcane and noticed there were some pigs floating by now. So I created a little staircase and pulled in the pigs. And I built them a little pig pen. After I finished building it, I noticed there was something in the water. When I got closer, it turns out it was a jellyfish. But I got a little too close and it shocked me. On day 24 I decided to go exploring in the ocean again. And after a while I ended up finding a sinking ship. It was still on fire too. And I noticed there were a bunch of pelicans that were flying around it. Whose ship could this have been? And how could it have sunk? I landed on the sinking ship, took out a skeleton, and started getting attacked by some drowns. I jumped into the ship and there were ghoulfish inside. What the heck were those doing here? I had to block most of their hits with my shield and barely got out of the water. I then blocked the drown's hit and then took them out. After I regenerated my health, I went back to the surface, climbed up to the top of the sinking ship, and went onto the sail and found a chest there. It had a gold and a diamond. I then jumped off the ship into the water and continued my journey through the ocean. And then on day 27... Oh my gosh, another tornado. Okay, that was a close one. That thing almost hit me. I do not want to get caught in one of those again. So after that really close encounter with a tornado, I ended up finding an abandoned mine shaft underwater and started to explore the mine shaft. I mined some iron and some gold and found myself a cave spider spawner. I then found myself my first 8 vein of diamonds. I also found a zombie spawner which had diamond horse armor, a golden apple, and found some melon seeds in a minecart chest. I then crafted a diamond pickaxe and chestplate, made some obsidian, and mined some. But when I returned back to base on day 33, it looked like it was griefed. What the heck happened here? But then it hit me that maybe that tornado that I saw hit my ship. So I went to go check the damages, and half of my cows and sheep were killed, and my crops were griefed. Luckily, the inside of my ship held up, and on day 34, I had entered the diamond age. I then fixed my farms, looked in the water, and there was emerald ore rolling by, as well as lots of other ores, including emeralds, gold ore, and even diamonds. After fishing a bunch, I decided to chop down a ton of wood. Now that I had access to a ton of ores, I wanted to start saving up for my stage 2 ship. From days 36 to 37, I fished out the rest of the diamonds I need for the rest of my diamond armor, made a melon farm, and made myself an extra potato farm. I then crafted my full diamond armor, an enchantment table, crafted myself even more ship sails, and refined logs. With these materials, I crafted myself my stage 2 ship. So I built out from my ship to make another platform, placed down my stage 2 ship, and watched as it built itself. Up sprang the ship, and it was huge. There was plenty of room for me to move into it. I first started by building a bridge between the two so I could easily transport my stuff over. After building that, I harvested my sugarcane and cows and made myself a full enchantment room. I then enchanted my diamond pick and my diamond sword, and on day 42 I returned to the cave spider spawner. For the next few days I decided to challenge myself and make a cave spider grinder. Probably would have been a lot easier if I just went with the zombie spawner, but after it was complete it worked just fine. So for the next few days I grinded out as many cave spiders as I could for XP, returned back to my base and enchanted all my armor. I then decided to go exploring on day 48, and on day 50 I found a field of glaciers. I approached one of the glaciers and ended up finding a pack of sea lions, but they weren't actually friendly. I wanted to see if I could tame them, but they just kept on attacking me, so I had to defend myself and defeated all the sea lions. I kept exploring the glaciers and ended up finding a pack of penguins. These guys are pretty cute looking. I then found a polar bear that had some cubs, but she didn't want me to get too close to her, so I left her alone. I then found another glacier with sea lions and went to go approach it, but then all of a sudden I started to get attacked by a pack of orca whales. These things were huge and I knew I had a disadvantage fighting them in the water, but I still tried and started to get overwhelmed, so I went back onto the glaciers, went to go escape, but one of them followed me and I was forced to fight it. So after battling it out with this orca, I finally managed to defeat it and decided not to stick around for very long, so I got on my boat and left this area. Whenever I turned back to base, it was the Nether Age now, and when I looked in the water, there was diamond ore, fermented spider eyes, golden carrots, golden apples, and even blaze rods. I also fished out some nether wart and soul sand, found some glowstone, and after a bunch of fishing, I mined all the glowstone I got, made myself a nether wart farm, made myself a little brewing area, and then started working on brewing strength 2 potions, speed 2 potions, and instant health splash 2 potions. On day 55, I started to explore the ocean again, and found a little island that had seagulls on it. There were seagulls with headbands too, and they started to attack me. Were these seagulls karate seagulls? What the heck were these things? I managed to take them out and kept on exploring and found an island on day 60. I started to explore this island, found a pond in the center, and started to get attacked by crocodiles. There was a bunch of them too, but using my shield strategically, and after getting kind of low on HP, I managed to take them all out. I kept on exploring and ended up finding desert foxes on the island too. I then found myself a little parrot and decided I would tame them. So I got some seeds, and on my 3rd attempt, I finally had myself a pet parrot. Comment down below what I should name him. But then on day 61, I ended up running into Gigas the crab on a beach. The crab took a giant swing at me and launched me into the air. I broke my fall with my water bucket and drank my potions and started to do as much damage to him as I could. He knocked me back again and I took a ton of damage, so I splashed down a health potion. I then blocked one of his hits, but it still knocked me back. Luckily, I broke my fall again and found an opportunity to do a ton of damage. I threw down another health potion, got launched into the air with 3 hearts. If I didn't clutch that, I would have definitely died there. I then went back in to do as much damage as I could and took another huge hit from Gigas. He then started summoning in little crab minions, which I had to take out. I then did a ton more damage to Gigas, hitting him over and over again. I then realized he did a crab rave dance every time he summoned in crabs. So I kept on taking out the minions, re-drank my potions, and while Gigas the crab was dancing, I then went back in and tried dealing as much damage as I could from behind and did my best to circle around him to avoid his minions. I then took out a bunch more minions, and I finally saw my opportunity to take him out. So I went in and did as much damage as I could, and with dozens of these crabs chasing me, I landed the final hit on Gigas, defeating the giant crab. I then looted the boss and got 12 crab claws. After defeating Gigas the giant crab, I decided to head back to base. But on the way back, I noticed some fish in the water. I went to go take a look at them, but they started to attack me immediately. Turns out they were sailfish, and they did a lot of damage considering I was in full diamond. I tried fighting them off, but I had to use a health potion to stay alive. I tried going in again, but they were really messing me up, so I had to run away to my boat and splash another health potion. Then I went in one final time and defeated both sailfish. Well, that was a lot closer than expected. So after about 4 days of travel, I finally made it back on day 66. I then gathered my nether wart. With the crab claws, I made full Gigas armor, a crab pincher blade, and a crab shield. And my goodness, did this armor set look cool. I then brewed some more instant health potions, and at the start of day 69, the end age began. I first harvested all of my crops, and then fished out an ender chest and an ender pearl. I then returned back to my cave spider spawner and grinded some levels, and on day 73, I enchanted all my armor with protection and enchanted my sword. That same night, I saw a netherite axe floating by, brought it back to my base and enchanted it, and for the next 2 days, using my netherite axe, I mined as much wood as I could to get all the materials I would need to craft my stage 3 submarine. Now that I had all the materials, I used them to create strength and steel, and also made some reinforced glass so that I could use all that in the giant crafting table to make the stage 3 submarine. I then built out a platform and placed down the stage 3 submarine underwater. I swam away and watched as it built, and out popped my stage 3 submarine. This thing was massive, and I was really excited to move in. So I climbed to the top of the submarine and took a quick peek inside. So I started to furnish the interior and moved all my stuff from my old ship to my new one. On day 78, I decided to go out exploring and found myself an island. When I reached the shore, I ended up getting attacked by some sea snakes, which I took out pretty easily. I then continued to explore the island and found some sort of cave base.
Oh Jesus, who the heck is that?
Hey, get back here!
Get away from me! I can't get rid of this guy. Okay, I think I lost him.
After I finally lost that hobo-looking guy, I stepped inside the cave to look around What is this? Oh my gosh.
I must
What?
have
Have what?
your lunar cape.
Okay, sure, here's your code.
After that creepy guy chased me down for a lunar cape, I realized he had creepy paintings on the walls. Those must have been pictures of the Leviathan. I started heading back to base and found some ancient ruins on the way back, and there seemed to be nothing in it at first until I found a conduit. So I mined the conduit and returned back to base on day 85. Next couple of days, I did some fishing, found a couple of pufferfish, and this submarine was really helping me gather the items that were floating by. So after a bunch more fishing, I then brewed myself some water-breathing potions, and on day 89, I decided to build the statue for the conduit. To complete the statue, I broke the block underneath the conduit, and then...
Whoa, this thing is cool. Wait, what the heck? The Leviathan has been confined to the east? I'm gonna go hunt this thing down.
So I used a compass to find where east was, and for the next 4 days, I traveled through the ocean, and on day 95, I found the Leviathan. Or at least I thought I did. I saw his boss bar, but I didn't know where he was. Then all of a sudden,
These drowns are annoying. Oh my gosh, there he is.
the Leviathan appeared out of nowhere, so I drank both of my potions, and the Leviathan leapt up into the air, splashing down into the water. I then decided to go in for a hit, but that just seemed to make him angry. So I swam away and used the ground to splash a potion. I then went back in, landed a few more hits, and was trying to block all the Leviathan's attacks. He then shot some sort of green smoke at me, which I barely dodged. He landed again in the water, and I used this chance to pop another health potion. Landed another hit, and he let out another massive roar. I then went back in and started to land more hits. But the Leviathan this time hit me with his green smoke, which gave me really bad poison. I then went back in and landed a bunch more hits on the Leviathan. I then managed to back away from one of his roars, which rattled my eardrums. He then hit me again with the green poison, so I had to throw down another health potion. I was now on my last instant health potion, so I needed to do as much damage as possible and dodge all of his attacks. But he landed some really good hits on me, so I had to back away, eat food, and use my last instant health. I went back in and landed a bunch more hits and was doing my best to block his. He then jumped up into the air again, but I managed to dodge his slam and knew now was my chance to try and finish him off. I landed another hit and he was extremely low on health, but I needed to play this extremely carefully. I did not want to die here. I then got hit really hard by the poison, getting brought down to half a heart. So I swam to the bottom and ate food and dodged another one of his slams. I then went in, hit him one more time, and he was so low. One more hit would do the trick. I dodged his poison again, knocked back a drown, and hit him for the last time, defeating the Leviathan, king of the sea. If you guys want to fight bosses like these and have access to our maps, check out our Patreon below. I then victoriously made my way back to my base and returned back home to my submarine on day 100. Make sure to watch Painful's video linked in the description. We both had different bosses and objectives. See ya!